next session, Training for the Personal Best. Increasingly, professional athletes and fitness trainers are turning to technology to maximize performance. Our panel will discuss how these leaders are influencing the utilization of fitness technology and reaching the entire fitness and training market. Michael Yang is our moderator, and he's the managing director with Comcast Ventures, where he leads their consumer health tech and IoT investment efforts. He has invested in companies such as Accolade, Healthline, and Body Media prior to their acquisition by Jawbone. And he loves coming to CES each year to see what new products and innovations in fitness and weight loss will be debuted. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Michael Yang.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? All right, great. So I'm going to introduce, just by name, our panelists today. I'm going to be moderating this session, but let's start with Marco, Ruth, Meg, Judd, Michael. Why don't you guys come up? Got enough? I think two per. Two per. Ruth, you want to take that? Okay, great. All right, great. So as Julie said, we're going to have this conversation really focus on training for the best. We've got a wide array of companies and expertise up here. So why don't we get started and have them each talk a little bit about what organization they're with, the products and services that they take to market, and a little bit more about their role. So I'll start down there with Michael.
Can you hear me? Great. My name's Mike Stashak. I'm with Wahoo Fitness. We are all focused on the connected workout. 5 years ago, we connected the smartphone to a wireless technology called Ant Plus that's prevalent in the fitness industry, and that's how we got started. As we go to market today, we have a line of motion-based workout trackers. We have a line of cycling products, and our goal in life is to make it so when you do run, ride, or go to the gym, and use your smartphone, we have a third-party device that can help you get the data that you need and get that data to your favorite cloud-based platform.
Judd?
Thanks. G'day, everyone. I'm with Jaybird. I'm the founder and CEO. We love active living. We've developed some great Bluetooth headphones to begin with, and we've become the third top premium headphone brand in the United States. And we've just moved into the wearable space, extending our active living product line with a great product called Rain. And that's it lets you know how ready your body is to be active today, and it tracks activity and sleep in incredible ways. So that's Jaybird.
Got it. I'm Meg Burich, and my background is in marketing, and I'm on the digital sports team at Adidas. So you saw our product offering, starting with the kids offering this morning. We have quite a range of connected technologies, and our focus is on coaching. So we embed coaching into our devices, and we have a range of devices from wrist devices to devices you wear during sport, and a smart ball, so that's a connected device as well.
So hello everyone, happy Tuesday. I'm Ruth Thomson from Cambridge Consultants. We're a product development and technology creation company with over 450 engineers, designers and scientists working with clients to develop new technologies and products all the way through from concept generation through to transfer to manufacture. So I head up the consumer business at Cambridge Consultants, and a large part of that is in our work in sports and fitness, where we do a lot of connected product development across performance monitoring and technique training.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. My name is Marco Suvilaakso. I'm the product director at Polar. Polar is the original fitness tech company. We started back in the late 70s, so it's kind of been an exploding space. Polar is really working very much with elite athletes and coaches, right down to the exercisers working out for fitness. We work both also with pro teams around the world, in the NHL, NFL, NBA, FA, this type of a thing. We also have a footprint in the education business as well, with over 1 million kids every year working out with Polar heart rate in PE class. And we're also working very closely in the fitness club industry with personal trainers and with club owners with their fitness equipment. Yeah.
Great. So that's our panel today. I'm going to jump off of Marco's last comment there, which is elite athletes. It's arguably said that this whole fitness tech space started decades ago off of the backs of the elite training kind of market. So I'd like to hear from all of you, because many of you do service that particular demographic. What are the set of technologies that elite athletes, professional or semi-professional or aspiring, have access to today? And then we're going to start from there and kind of weave that into the consumer mainstream. But just start on the elite side. What do they have access to that inspires everybody?
Oh, I'll go first. In the process of developing RAIN, we've acquired a company from Australia where they were focusing on heart rate variability, which is quite a different take on heart rate. Heart rate variability is the time in milliseconds between the beats. And if you're fatigued, we see one pattern, and if you're recovered, we see another. And so in this company's work with professional athletes, they've been working for more than 10 years with cycling teams and all sorts of different teams throughout not only Australia, but other areas of the world as well. And this was a great measure of an athlete's readiness for a training session. How intense should they work out today, or can they just take it easy and feel great about taking a day off? It's a great way not only to be able to push yourself further, but to know when to hold back, and a great way to avoid injury as well. And so that's been used. It began in Russia quite a long time ago, and it's become quite prevalent throughout professional sports for some time now. And so that's just barely coming into the consumer products now. It's good to see.
I think if we think about what elite athletes have got that consumers haven't, there's a whole range of different people that can support them, across the sports scientists with the teams, the physiotherapists or the teams, the coaches, their teammates as well. There's a whole kind of different support network that's there that isn't there for consumers. And the whole range of different technologies that they can use, because there'll be some things that you could do in the lab that will be available for elite teams, and some measurements that you might be able to take. For example, you might be able to do invasive measurements on a elite team, which you couldn't do on a consumer. I'm quite sure you wouldn't be able to get many consumers to pee in a cup, and other things that you could do there, which will be able to give them feedback on what they can do.
At Adidas, we have an elite monitoring system that we provide to elite teams. So this is a technology available to elites, and we try to give them insights, and we've worked alongside their coaches and trainers to give them what they need. But I think for elite, you need to give it to them as a tool, because they do have departments. It's like a company. They have different departments, nutritionists and mindset experts and technical tactical trainers and strength and conditioning coaches that take that data and then work with the teams with that data. So when you get to consumer, you almost need to be more sophisticated and give them the answer, because they don't have this staff interpreting it for them. So
I would say that definitely the elite athletes, they have the ability to really track all the parameters of their sports. It's getting better all the time. And last year we introduced the V800, which brought the activity tracking to the elite athlete level. So before it was very much about what the athletes did on the pitch or in the training sessions, but then when we combined it to bring in that whole aspect of what you do when you're not actually training, resting, sleep quality, this type of thing, which is really critical. And I think it's opened up a whole new dimension for the elite athlete in tracking.
Yeah, just to pile on here, but we started working with Team Sky. Wahoo started working with Team Sky about 2 years ago, the elite professional cycling team. And what we learned from Team Sky is that every single moment of their day is measured, from sleep to what they eat to every body fluid in their body. And they have the data, a 360-degree view of their data on a daily basis. And that includes also what their mental mindset is. So if you think about the holy trinity of sleep and nutrition and exercise, I mean, every single parameter is measured, analyzed, and then fed back to them in this constant loop of feedback where they can improve from day to day based on what the day prior, the week prior, the month prior was.
So if we were to anchor the elite athlete and the physiology science that they have access to, the people, the coaching, and the staff they have access to, and all the capital and the labs and all that, that's one end of the spectrum. But what about the consumer? You know, we're all here at CES, which has consumer as its first kind of part of the acronym. You know, where is the state of the consumer? And maybe let's just start by defining the consumer. You guys are all marketing different products and services to them. What part of the consumer kind of marketplace are you going after, and how do you think about segmentation?
Well, in terms of segmentation, I would start, I would say, any consumer that has a goal to improve in terms of their fitness and health is a potential customer for Polar. So as long as they want to make a change and improve, they're already, like in that sense, qualified. And for the consumers, what you really need to be able to give them are the easy and let's say something that's easy and incredibly motivating. So to take the data and not show them just raw data, but show them those things that are really motivational. So help them to understand the benefit of what they've achieved after they've achieved it. Help them to see the progress that they make from every single run, every single ride, those types of things. So less raw data, more value-added, smart coaching feedback.
Yeah, we started at the top of the pyramid with athletes. We wanted to connect athletes to smartphones. We saw the smartphone being an incredibly powerful tool that didn't necessarily, was not rivaled in terms of what you could put on your wrist. And we started with, you know, elite runners, elite cyclists, and we've slowly moved down to the more daily enthusiast. But I mean, the segmentation here is endless. You see it out there in the trade show. You see everything from the person that just is about to get off the couch to the person that trains 5 days a week and has been doing so for 20 years.
I mean, we've worked on technologies across the whole different segments, and I think we'd split it in terms of kind of two different axes there, from you know, well-being, kind of almost getting the health area, going up through fitness into kind of real sporty, sport-specific technologies, and then and kind of the other direction, those people who are just generally interested, kind of the keen beans who might get it, you know, the stocking for Christmas, up to the people who are training, you know, multiple times a week and kind of verging on professional. And how you develop technology for those different axes is quite different. I mean, for example, if you think of the well-being people who just want to monitor activity and just see improvement, really they just want a relative measure. You know, they're not necessarily interested in absolute, whereas if you think of more people who are training multiple times a week, they want much more accurate information.
So when we look at the consumer segmentation, we're really looking at what is the goal or what is the need of that consumer group. And I think we have consumers who are, you know, at the high end that want to break a record, and they're trying to reduce their time, and they have this really sharp goal that they're focused on. And so we have an offering for them and training plans for them and things tailored just for them. And then we have a fitness consumer who maybe is just more, you know, a sport for life consumer. I want to stay fit, I want to be healthy. And so the offerings that we have for them are a little bit different, and the training plans are different as well. And then we have a consumer who wants to get better at their sport. Maybe they play soccer or basketball, and so we need to help them with some different skills to help them get better. So we're kind of looking at a segmentation like that. And beyond that, though, we also see this journey of fitness over a lifespan that goes from the kids to, you know, you're in organized sports, and then you maybe go to college, and you don't have, you know, a way to get into sports. So we need to connect with people differently based on the stage of life that they're in. So it's kind of segmentations cutting in different ways.
Yeah, and I back all those comments, and I find that we're all, you know, we have a lot of marketing talk and terms, but really we're people, and we're all individuals, and we all just love being active, those who are living that lifestyle, right? And I see a lot of very fit people here in this audience, and so it's, you know, people who are going to engage with active products, and people who are going to improve their lives, or those who are naturally going to already be investing their time and their attention and their money towards those things already. And so what do we really love in our life? Why do we go out for that run? Why do we go out for that CrossFit session or swim or whatever it might be? How can we improve that experience, and how can we make it more engaging? How can we bring more meaning to the user? You hear a lot of talk about data, and I think for the average consumer, it's probably a little bit irrelevant. It's more about benefit and what can we do with that data, what can we do to make it a whole lot more meaningful and to elevate that experience in our lives?
So where are we on the adoption curve or the evolution and penetration of some of these technologies on the consumer side? Obviously on the elite athlete side, folks have been making this available and it's been more widely adopted, I would argue. But on the consumer side, as you've mentioned, there's tons of products here in the show floor. How successful have we been in terms of marketing, getting that value prop out there, connecting needs and benefits, and then also talk a little bit about pricing. How does the role of pricing of some of these technologies ultimately play into adoption?
I think in terms of where we are in the progress, I think we're definitely still at mass attention rather than mass adoption in the consumer area. And we've seen, this is my 7th year at CES now. I think of the changes that we've seen over that time. It is incredible, from multiple pedometers into other things that can measure a whole variety of different measurements. And now what I think we're getting into much more sports-specific technologies. We're seeing that a lot more last year, and I expect we'll see that this year. And also people waking up to the fact that it is about the service and the whole piece around it, and it's not about the device. I think we're seeing a lot of maturity now in that area.
I think, yeah, so the penetration has gotten really quite high, but there's still, we think, we're in the infancy in this space because there's so much more that can be done and so much sorting out that will be done. But in terms of access to this, people can start with an app, a free app. We have one, probably a lot of people have one, and then you can add on, and the price point range has become so broad. I think you can start $20, $25 or something pretty technical and go all the way up, so you can. It's really low risk to get involved in this. So I think, for people to try it with an app and add on a device, it's just something that, people should do if it's going to help them meet a goal. So.
I mean, I could pull a contrarian viewpoint as far as adoption goes. I think that, the smartphone and the explosion of smartphones over the last 5-7 years in apps on your smartphone. I think more people are tracking their data via smartphone, whether it's going for a run, whether it's using a pedometer app, than they've ever used before. The main question, and I think this is what every investor is looking at when they look at this space, is just how much more do people need beyond what's on the smartphone, and what is Google and Apple going to do to a smartphone that's going to allow those people to get the data that they need. As far as price points go, I think that we're seeing price points come down significantly over the last 5 to 10 years. What was only available in a lab 5 years ago is now available on your smartphone, and the price points are associated with it. If dollars continue to flow into this market from an investor or from a consumer standpoint, I think we might quickly get to a place where supply of products outweigh the demand from consumers, and then what happens, right? Price points go down in the whole supply-demand curve, and then also you have to have a reset of supply, which would show consolidation and also further drive down price points before they do go back up. So in the short term, very bullish, because I think that there's going to be incredible new technologies that come to market that are going to be made available to consumers that weren't available 2 years ago. The big question in everyone's mind, from a business owner to an investor, is just how long, where exactly are we on that adoption curve for hardware devices, and how long will this boom last?
Marketing is so interesting to talk about. The most important marketing is word of mouth, isn't it? How often have you thought a whole lot about a brand because your friends talk about it and you hear about it a lot? It's not necessarily the ad on the TV or a banner ad online. And so marketing comes down to the stickiness of a product and how is it really engaging? Does it really connect with me as a person? And am I going to talk about it to my friends? And that's really where marketing succeeds it doesn't matter if it's a large company or a small company. It comes down to how good that product is and does it really connect with us as an individual. So that's our job as brands and product developers is to create products that really establish meaning for people and improve their lives and is worthy of talking about.
So speaking of, go ahead, Mark. I was just going to comment real quick.
I would say at least if I contrast to about 5 years ago and reflect back there, in terms of overall penetration with the performance segment, really performance-oriented athletes that are really looking to improve their PBs, there I actually do see that the penetration is really starting to get way up there. So it's not anymore a question that, do I really need a fitness monitor, a training computer, GPS? It's just like which one? And I would say that up there at least, that top 15, 20% of the market, it's pretty well fully saturated, but it's coming down all the time.
So speaking of marketing, you know, a tactic often used in marketing is to associate a product or service with a celebrity, you know, an athlete, a brand, well-established name. Does that work in this space? And, you know, how do you think about selecting a particular athlete or individual or celebrity to align with, and what are the risks and kind of benefits of doing so?
For us, in a way, we're in a bit of a luxury position on one level because we have so many athletes that have been training with Polar since they were tiny, little kids. So if you think about a guy like Frederik van Leerd, who won the Ironman World Championships in Kona in 2013, he is just a simple step, you know. He just comes over to Polar and says, I love your products. I've been training with you guys for 10 years, and of course I'll represent you. So it's like it's that simple and it's that natural. The challenge that we have, though, is like in some of the other spaces, is that there are very big brands with huge money that have, in a sense, bought out the ownership of a team presence, and that they're all their branding and whatever. So we might be working with that team, but unfortunately, we can't make any reference to them in public or use their branding and this type of a thing. And in that sense, Polar is, in a way, in the team sports world, like one of the biggest secrets.
I think it all depends where you are in a company life cycle. Wahoo is 5 years old. We have a crazy name named Wahoo, and we're making high-end cycling products for cyclists to help them get better. By sponsoring Team Sky 2 years ago, we went from zero to hero in regards to having our message be heard as far as performance technology that can help people get better. So for us, it's helped immensely. It may not be the right call for everyone, though.
We obviously have a lot of professional athletes using our products, and I think it can be great. It raises visibility. They're very aspirational, especially for younger audience. So I think, you know, for us, we've had some interesting experiences. Like we had Caroline Wozniacki run the New York Marathon. She trained with our Smart Run device, but she's a tennis player. So that's really cool. I mean, she was doing a different sport and excelled at it and trained with her device, so it's very human interest. But when we look at the real consumer for a lot of these products, it's, you know, tends to be 25 to 54, a little bit older, and those people really relate to people like them, or people, you know, real life things, not so much these aspirational athletes. So I think it's important to know when to use the athletes and when they don't work as well, depending on your target.
Yeah, Meg, you said it well. And you know, those athletes that align with a product should, you know, it should be an authentic relationship, something that it really resonates with the product and the use and the audience, and the athlete's really real about it and believes in it. It's really important.
So let's delve a little bit more into hardware and devices and kind of the state of play there today. Let's maybe start with things like accuracy and the science and all that. Great on the elite side. On the consumer side, is it overkill? You know, we talked about data versus information. Do they even understand what they're looking at? And how do you differentiate on the hardware side, you know, some of these sensors and features and bells and whistles?
I think if you're starting out developing a new product, you really need to think about what's almost like the minimum viable product to be successful, so you can get something out there in the marketplace. So how accurate does it need to be? How small does it need to be? What could be the cost features? And you know, you'll need your marketing people to understand that, but start talking to the technical people early, so that you don't end up with the marketing people coming back with a, you know, I want this thing that's, you know, this small and, you know, and accurate to, you know, this level, and it isn't even possible. We've got a system called the Accessory Toolkit that we're working with a lot of clients with, which you can do in a very quick workshop in a very visual way, just to be able to say, okay, this is, I want an X that does Y, how big could it be? And we can instantly generate the PCB area and look at the costs and look at the performance and things like that. I think it's never too early kind of thinking about what is the minimum viable product, and then start thinking about, okay, well, if I tweaked, this area, what's then the impact on, cost and size and performance?
I was thinking accuracy, whether you're elite or consumer, is just, you got to have it, right? We're providing data and insights based off of that data, and so if it's not accurate, you can't bring it to market. I think that's number one. Now, you may need less data points in the consumer market than you need for elite, and you may translate it in a different way, but I think some of these basic minimum requirements are essentials, no matter what space you're in.
To put accuracy in context, if it's a step tracker or some type of calorie counter for a person that's just getting off the couch and it says that based on their activity that day, they could eat a piece of cake, and they eat a piece of cake, but they gain weight that week. The accuracy needs to be good enough so that that person can accurately count their calories if their goal is to lose weight. And accuracy is a hot button for me. I think that there's a lot of folks out there that are hurting our industry because they're bringing products to market that aren't as accurate as they need to be, and it's giving a lot of us a bad name. So at the high end, accuracy is extremely important, but accuracy is, as she said, is even important down to the level, even if you want to eat your cake.
So another hot button is wearability. Did you want to jump in on this one or no?
I was just going to, actually, Judd mentioned heart rate variability at the very beginning. That's something that where you measure heart rate with 1 millisecond resolution requires high accuracy, high sensitivity in terms of measurement technology. But for the fitness consumer, we use heart rate variability in that we just give one simple guidance, zone guidance for heart rate training. Are you training in a fitness zone or in a more fat-burning zone? And that's just like a very simple example of using a high-tech, high accuracy, high resolution measurement to deliver a very simple value add for the end customer. Am I training in the right zone? That simple.
Okay. Wearability, that's another big topic. If you're a lead athlete, you're only training X hours per day, you're happy to kind of be strapped in, wear a bunch of stuff. On the consumer side, again, given the diversity of market segmentation, you could have a pedometer tracker, which is meant to be worn all the time. You have other devices that are meant to be worn during the training session or the workout session. How do you guys think about wearability and back to the evolution and kind of market curve adoption? Where are we in terms of collectively solving for wearability for the consumer?
I would say at least activity tracking has really changed the game for us in that when we look at the very beginning of the use cases, we think about that 24/7 cycle, and we really factor that into the ergonomics of the design, and also the recharge cycle, and also how it looks, what it says about the individual, when they're wearing it, that type of thing. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, Renee, our Chief Marketing Officer, is going to be speaking about fashion and how it plays into different use cases, but I won't steal his thunder. He's got a good presentation on that. But it is really important that it's usable. I mean, you can't just go to bed and expect to wear something bulky. That's not going to fly. And it needs to also present the help in your life that it needs, and so it needs to be functional. It needs to be able to have a good battery life. So there's so many different factors that play into it, and on top of that, it has to be fashionable, and of course, size is very important. So yeah, there's all these balls that we're juggling. I'm not quite sure how to answer the question all that well, but there's a lot of factors that come into play, and so it is not only a science but also an art on how you balance all of that and come to market with something that's beautiful on top of all of that.
I think in thinking about particularly the power angle, you know, it's very likely it is going to have to be recharged. You know, it's to kind of think about what else are they going to be doing? You know, how do you help it fit into their routine? So, you know, can it be something you just plug in with your phone at the end of the day? You know, but you know, where are they when they use it? And how can you not just think about it just as a device, but how does it fit into that whole system? I mean, we're very much focusing here on kind of like MEMS-based sensors, based systems. Something that's a demonstration that we're launching at the show today is a optical fiber based wearable system that monitors the movement of joints, which you can see at our booth in the show. So that's something we're very much kind of integrating the smarts into the garment and making the garment inherently smart itself.
Coaching, you referenced that earlier. You know, we've got devices, they're spitting off with data, we're trying to do more with data. What is coaching? Is it virtual coaching, you know, using algorithms and software, or is it coaching meaning connecting people back to real life trainers and specialists kind of in the physical world? What is the state of play right now?
I think it could be executed in different ways. I'll speak a little bit how we do it. I like to think of our devices as kind of expert systems that have built-in coaching, so it's delivered through the devices and the app experience, and it's customized to what your goals are. So it's that virtual coach, and it's basically what we've learned from elite athletes and pros and how to train, and embedded that so every consumer can have access to that expert coaching without having a lot of people around them. So that's one way to execute it, and that's kind of how we've done it based on heart rate and activity, and the combination of those metrics. We can tell you, you know, what you need to achieve your goal and how you need to do that.
There's too much science out there, and what we find is not a lot of consumers want to dive into the science behind the device that they're wearing. So all they want to be told on a daily basis is what I need to do next. So you walked 2,500 steps yesterday, you need to walk 3,500 steps tomorrow. You didn't work out yesterday, or you did work out yesterday and you know, you're now in recovery mode, don't go too hard today. But tell me what I need to do today or what I need to do tomorrow, and I think that's the big frontier, because it's different for every single person. You have to understand what their goals are, you need to understand the data of how their body's reacting, and then you need to understand where they are in their training life cycle, and able to deliver something with high accuracy and high confidence that you're not going to either, you're going to push them right to the edge, you're not going to injure them, but you're also going to get the most out of the day that the hour that they've decided to work out.
Yeah, great comments. There's one angle, of course, you know, coach is one angle to approach it, but I don't like the idea of waking up in the morning to a coach screaming at me. And so we talk a lot about a friend in your pocket, meaning the app, the information that comes from Ray and the band and going to our app. And so everything that we talk about revolves around friend in your pocket. So there's a lot of people who go before work out to do something active, and a lot of the time it's to go meet up with a friend and do that, because that's motivating. It's really fun to go out with your mate and get active, and it's encouraging rather than forcing. And so just as much as, you know, what we talk about, but it's how we do it. That's really important to us as individuals and what connects with us.
It's a timely topic for us because this week at Polar we're launching a system called Polar for Coach. And what it is essentially allows coaches and personal trainers to dial into their clients' diaries, training diaries. They can read the workout data, see how their weeks are progressing, and then also help them to plan that following week. And this is really based on the fact that a lot of consumers are really tapping into personal trainers and coaches. It's a huge, massively growing part of the segment. And that's where we just wanted to make it so much more easier. So you don't have to be emailing and calling back and forth or sending text messages with your personal trainer. You can just dial into your Polar Flow. They've already seen what you've achieved this week or today, and then you can look forward and see what they've also planned for you. And the beauty of the whole thing is it syncs right down to the wrist device. When you start your workout that day, you press the go button, the workout that the personal trainer set up for you starts to roll. So it's changing.
Okay. Data integration, data exchanging, data syndication, you all are collecting data. What's your philosophy for making your data that you collect available elsewhere? What's your philosophy on taking in data from other sources and inputs? And where is this all going?
The consumer owns the data. We don't own the data. I mean, Wahoo's built on an open API that we can have any app work with any one of our devices. And we feel that that's extremely important because there's nothing more frustrating than going for a great workout and having data on that 1 hour a day that you work out, but you have data in another system for the 23 other hours a day that you're alive. And you can't compare those things. You know, you have duplicative scenarios, you have omissions, and for anyone that wants to be able to take a full view of their health and fitness lifestyle is that they need to be able to have a central database where they can see all their data in an apples to apples format. And we're not there yet.
Data on its own is useless. You know, you need to turn it into actionable information, and a lot of about that is going to be how you visualize it to the person. Then you have to really think about what do they want to see at that time. I think that's really interesting when you think about what's happening in the elite side, because what the player wants to see might be quite different to what the coach wants to see, what the sports science wants to see, and actually you've got to think about the context of timing as well, because, you know, for example, if you think of a football system, what they want to see on the side of the pitch is going to be different what they want to see back in the changing rooms and training. So I think, you know, a lot about data is what do you want to know when, and how do you visualize it in a way that you can make it actionable?
We opened up the API access with Google Fit and Apple Health Kit last year. And this week we're announcing that we're connecting also with MyFitnessPal as well. So, and we plan to be able to open up connectivity to all those relevant partners, also to be able to bring more value add to the end customers using Polar.
Yeah, like Marco said, give the consumer what they want. And if that's what they want, we give it to them. Yeah.
And same, we are opening up our data platform to exchange with other communities, and so consumers can, you know, combine their calorie data with their workout data, and it's just the way of the future, and I think it's giving consumers more of what the information that they want.
Yeah, just one addition to this. If you look along the value chain of data collection to data sharing to data analysis to coaching, no one company is going to be able to do all of that extremely well. There's going to be best-in-breed players for each one of those steps of the value chain, and that's why the consumer has to own the data, own the data, and that data needs to be in file formats that are common to the industry, and right now, we're not.
Apple, iWatch, good thing, bad thing for you, for the industry, and then ultimately, Apple, friend or foe?
It's awesome. Apple Watch is a great product, and it has a really good use case in certain situations. In certain situations, at the moment, it doesn't. And so, yeah, it'll certainly be a great product, and a lot of people will use it. Not everyone will use it, but I think it's our job to certainly present the information that the consumer wants to see in every place that they would like to see it. And so that may, you know, it may be integration with Apple Watch, or it may not be for certain companies. But yeah, I mean, they're a big player and certainly very credible.
I think same. It's a rising tide. It's going to help us all. You know, Apple gets into it. It just lifts everything. So I'm looking forward to what we can do with Apple on the Apple devices and what it does for our whole space.
I think it will always lead to more adoption if, you know, Apple's involved. So it can only be a good thing to more people being more aware of what's out there. I think it's interesting looking at the different players across, you know, the fitness space. You know, you've got the big tech giants like Apple, but you've got the startups emerging and getting pretty established now. You've also got the sporting goods brands. You know, I think what they really bring is really understand their sports. So, you know, how can they all work together to be able to deliver something that's really valuable?
Marco, you want to give the dissenting opinion?
I think it's a great gateway type of product for just like smartphones. So a lot of people were asking us 5 years ago or 4 years ago, you know, are smartphones going to kill the fitness tech? Didn't happen. It just helped to grow it.
As far as HealthKit goes, I am extremely excited on the concept of HealthKit. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing that's happened to our industry in the last year. If you think about it, it's not just the data that you get from the hour a day that you work out. It's the 360-degree view of your life, from sleep to nutrition to exercise. And HealthKit is the first, it's the first major attempt by a company that can actually move the needle to bring all that data together and try to put that into a common format. And Apple's not owning that data. They're letting people extract as much as put in. And the concept of HealthKit, of where it could be in 3, 5, 10 years, is really exciting, from the person that's just getting off the couch to the elite athlete. Because, as I said, our work with Team Sky, they're measured 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All of a sudden, the basic consumer will have some version of that, which will help them be more fit or achieve whatever their fitness goals are.
Different parts of the body. Let's talk about that for a second. We have everything up here, from kind of your ear to your chest to your wrist to even your feet and all that. Where should these devices be affixed to? How does that map back into kind of consumer need? And then also kind of, what do you see in the future? Are people going to be wearing one device for one specific use case and swapping them in and out? Or is there a multi-purpose kind of device that kind of rules them all?
I think it's always about the use case, what the end customer wants to achieve in those workouts, and that environment that they're working in. So, for example, people who are training in a cold weather environment, who want to be able to track their heart rate and see their, the data on top of their sleeve, the optical heart rate isn't an option for them at that point. So, or working out in a gym with weight training or something where optical isn't really necessarily optimal for that type of tracking. But I think then a lot of people running around with headphones today, makes sense, this type of a thing. I think it's always about the scenario.
Yeah, it's definitely about the use case. I mean, there's a use case where swallowing a pill makes sense. Probably not for your average consumer.
Okay. Prediction by this time next year. What are we going to be talking about, and what do you hope to see?
I think there'll be even more sport-specific technologies. I think we've seen that last year. I think there'll be more this year, and I think there'll be more launched the following year. I think more things that incorporate kind of ecosystems and kind of with that coaching part. I think what could be quite fun looking at the training system. If you look at how things like kind of CrossFit and Insanity have really taken off in the fitness class arena. How could you incorporate devices into that? So it's more kind of this holistic ecosystem of incorporating devices into that. I think that would be a really fun thing to see.
Yeah. Okay. I think, I'm hoping next year we make some big advances in engagement, because that's kind of a problem that this industry has, is keeping people engaged. So we're looking at ways to make it stickier experiences and really connect in a way that's meaningful and lasting with consumers and devices. And I think part of that is us all collectively being able to move up this curve on how we use data. So today we might just be telling you what you're doing, and we need to use that data and get even more cool stuff out of it that you really want to see, right? So it's your information, and it's really personalized, and it's kind of addictive, and we need to kind of move in that direction, and I think that would be great.
I wouldn't add a word to that. That was gold. Good. Of course, things that come out next year are things that have already been worked on for the last year or two. So, we're all doing our things and working on new developments for next year, and hopefully we'll see some of that.
From a consumer standpoint, 2015 is going to be the year of the smartwatch. The Apple Watch is coming out. They're going to see multiple form factors of Android Wear, for a specific sport or specific use case. And I believe, just like the smartphone, as Marco said, 5-7 years ago, changed the way we manage our fitness life. The smartwatch is going to do that for us in 2015. From an investor standpoint, I think we're going to be talking about consolidation. So I think we're going to see companies start working together, partnering, buying, et cetera. And I believe that you're going to start seeing some new names and new 800-pound gorillas in this space in the next 12 to 18 months.
One prediction I would say is also like on a macro trend level would be that the healthcare sector is going to continue to move more into this space, because the whole idea of preventative healthcare and the idea that if you're fit, you're healthy, it's just going to gain much more traction, and it's going to get a lot more investment, or is already getting a lot more investment behind it. And that's right down from all the way from government institutions to corporates, big corporates globally.
Great. We will stop now, but open it up for our Q&A from the audience.
Hi, great panel, thank you. I have a question, and this is for everyone on the panel, about wearable technology and smart clothing, and where do you see that coming into your particular spaces?
That's a great question, and that's got to be executed so well. Do you remember the Oakley sunglasses with the MP3 player that run down to your ear? That was a while ago, and we don't see them nowadays. And so there was some, you inherit some challenges when you combine purchasing decisions. Okay, so I'm going to buy an MP3 player. Well, you've got sound preferences, you've got usability, how do I put the songs on there? Then you've got a pair of sunglasses, how do they look? Well, I don't like that look. So when you start compounding purchasing decisions, you start taking fractions and you make them narrower and narrower, and it makes it very difficult for the consumer to find a product that works well for them. So versatility is incredibly important if you're going to start merging different purchasing decisions like that. But it's a very tricky area.
I think it's going to be very specific to specific use cases. So I use the word specific twice, but I mean, you're going to see you're going to see an awesome football shirt or something, but that will be used in a game for a football game. But that shirt will have very limited purposes outside if you try to be a jack of all trades. So I don't necessarily see anything mass market or broad consumer on the wearables. Excuse me, on the clothing, apparel.
We do have apparel technology. Actually, I worked on it, Stacey worked on it early on before we were acquired by Adidas. And we do see kind of a renewed interest in that. I think the wrist is very crowded, and the wearables or the apparel with integrated sensors can provide a new solution for consumers. So I think there's going to be some interest in that, and we're going to see kind of an uptick in interest in that area.
Hi, I have a question to Pola. I like that, I want to learn more about the idea of Pola with your coach, how that works. Do I, as a coach, have to give that to my clients, or will my clients approach me? What kind of coaches are you working with? Is there like a digital coach, or is it a human being? How does that work?
It's just simply is in terms of connecting the coach and the athlete in the Flow web service. So you have an athlete who's training and has a training diary online, and the coach can dial in through that, just to register and connect there, just like you would on Facebook. And what it does is it sets up a feed for the coach. Every time any one of their clients or athletes trains, they get a feed, an announcement that this training session has happened. They can go in there, analyze it, comment, and this type of a thing. So you can also register there, already, and give it a try. And it's for personal trainers, and all the smart coaching, like the analysis tools and all those types of things that we have, like training load analysis, that's available to the coach as well. And then what we just want to do is allow that human interaction element to really kick in and be maximized. It's just really about saving time and getting the information through with complete clarity.
I've got a softball question for you. How important are standards within the industry?
Huge, really important. I mean, Bluetooth Low Energy has been I think it's been a boon, stepping in as a big, let's say, the standard for the connectivity between smart watches and smart technology, and then also with the fitness technology. That's one example.
Yeah, standards around data as well. I mean, there's some standards there, but how do you do standards for sleep? How do you do standards for eating? How do you do standards for steps? How do you do, I mean, yes, we all have a GPS file if you want to go for a run or for a ride, but for every other part of the exercise, from team sports all the way to individual workouts in gyms. We need standards for data.
Go ahead.
Hi, when you think, thanks for joining us this morning. Really appreciate the insights. When you think about the products and services you can only afford to offer your top elite athletes, what's the top thing you'd like to bring to the mass consumer audience next?
Is that a question for Marco or for everyone?
Sorry, I didn't quite hear.
Yeah,
Sorry.
maybe.
Let's see, when you think about all the elite products and services you can only offer to top athletes due to cost or resources, what's the best thing you'd like to bring to
That's a tough question. The needs are so different, you know, in that sense. So, like, obviously the reliable, like for example, we offer for the elite athletes, for example, longer battery lifetimes because they tend to have longer training sessions, this type of a thing. But that comes at a price. You have bulkier devices. So, I mean, that's the kind of thing, for example, but...
I'll dive into that. I think it's very interesting. If you see the elite athletes, you see them tested regularly to see where they are in their fitness cycle. I think a simple fitness test done well for the mass market consumers would be a great thing that I would like to bring. So using biometric data, whether it's heart rate, whether it's speed, whether it's distance or something, but some type of test that a consumer can use to understand where they are in fitness and from an objective point of view as they continue on their fitness journey. I mean, I think that's where you're going to see a lot of things come down and trickle down into the mass consumer market.
We've talked a lot about coaching, and I think that's, you know, that if you think of elite athletes and people training to get elite, have got access to, you know, the best coaches in the world, and I think that's what's really exciting about lots of things we're seeing at the show and about what technology can bring, because really making that accessible to much more of the masses, and, you know, how can we really use technology to train the athletes of the future?
That's a really good question. One little pet project that we're working on is biometric age, which is essentially what is the age of your body. And as you get more active over time, theoretically you can have a negative birthday. How's that? That's pretty good. The dial went backwards. So we're working on something along those lines, and you know, the ability to actually kind of make yourself a bit younger by being more active. So that's there's a lot of different things you can do. But that's one.
All right, guys, we've got time for 2 more questions, and we've got one over here.
Good morning. Thank you. This question is actually for everybody up there. There's been a lot of talk about the personalized coaching and providing more customized recommendations. What are the concerns about liability there? So, you know, for example, the things that the virtual coach can't see with the eye test, where heart rate may show that they're recovering, but you can't tell that that person's also nursing an injury. So you make a recommendation, somebody goes out and gets hurt. Is there a lot of concern about that, or how would that be handled?
Oh, I got a personal story for you this week. Using RAIN, there's a go zone score, and so using heart rate variability, I get a score between 0 and 100. And earlier this last week, I was around about 50 to 60, which is great. That's a good spot to be in. Once you get below 30, you're in fatigue. And so later in the week, I was around about 22, quite fatigued, but I didn't feel it. I got up feeling pretty good, so I went out for a swim, and then I went out to go at the gym as well. And then I did a little bit of yoga moves as well, and because I was working on a back issue, and I hurt my shoulder, and I also felt really flat that day. My wife will tell you I was not very happy, and so that was a fatigue day. I didn't really know it at first, and I had a little slight injury as well out of that day, and so I should have listened to that dial, and I should have scaled it back a little bit. And so there are these great tools that help us avoid injury, yeah.
All right, just continuing with that question about standards and the BLE versus the ANT+, where do you see those going? Are they complementary? Are they competitive? And in 2-3 years, are they both going to still be relevant as far as connecting your equipment?
The way we see it is that actually the BLE, we've been kind of invested in the BLE for a long time, many years back already, before it became announced. We see that with BLE and it progresses on its roadmap, it pretty well eclipses ANT altogether. So we don't really see a future for ANT, and that's why we didn't really get into it at all. I understand, though, that there's a lot of ANT out there at the time, so I think it'll still be around for some time. But I just think in the longer term, BLE is the viable standard.
Yeah, I'd echo that as well. I mean, we don't get any requests for developing on ANT, whereas, time and time again, people come to the door, it's on BLE. So I think that will be what wins.
All right, thank you very much. And our panelists, most of them are on the show floor in the sand, so you can visit them at their booth and finish asking your questions if there are any more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Good job.